Okay, so this is my adoption journey, episode 3. If you're just starting here, please go back to episode 1. None of this will make sense. But we've talked about the initial desire to seek out my my biological parents, the request to my current adoptive parents who were fine with it, how I obtained the information I needed to identify my birth mother. We got that. How I then linked her with other children and other marriages through the court records, public information. We got that. So now we're to what to do. And what did I do to actually find her? We'll get into the documents. Okay, so before I pile off into how I found my birth mother, I wanted to pull this up. I thought it was pretty neat. This is a petition for adoption, and this was our side of the adoption, basically. You know, I could go down to the courthouse and get this at any time, but it was just this. My name, my parents' address at the time, my adoptive parents, all that good stuff. This is the part you couldn't get. This is the exhibit that my biological mother gave consent to the adoption of. I'm the infant. I was Davis baby male, but now I'm infant. Was born on that day. I don't know. I guess I haven't read this because this is not, I don't know, it reads different to me. I agree to permanently surrender the care, custody, and parental authority of and over said child, and I agree to its adoption upon judgment of this court or any other court. I have 2 kids. I can't imagine being in a place to do this, to give up those rights. But I do understand it. She was young, and I'm appreciative of it because it gave me the opportunities that I needed, and it gave me a real head start in life. Not to say that I wouldn't have it with my biological mother, or I wouldn't be successful, or what have you. She's a wonderful person. Intelligent as, just a bright person. And it's been wonderful, the relationship part of it. But, think about having to do that as a young person. Don't judge, but just think about being in that position. It's hard. We have to realize sometimes that we are more fortunate than we think we are. Okay, so that's that. How did I find... There's my original letter to Catherine Tyra, district clerk. And it basically, recently, I wanted to know my medical history, all that good stuff. And here it is. Present address. And I gave her all the relevant information. And I petitioned the court. I had to go to the court, but I had to file this ahead of time. And then I had to go for a hearing, as I recall. So that's my original petition to her. We'll get into that in a minute. I don't have a lot of tools to show you regarding how I found her, but we've already been through the process that I got her information. So here's what I did. I went straight to the known kids. I now knew her ex-husband's name, and I knew they had kids together. So what did I do? The old white pages. pulled up the phone number. Luckily, he was in Blanco, Texas. It's not that hard to find. And his name was unique, his last name. So, fairly easy. I dialed up the number, and remember the whole door shutting thing? I pretended to be an agent of the court. You know, you cannot get a door slammed on your face. The very first thing I said, I'm an agent I'm a representative of the court. I hope there's no statute of limitations because I didn't technically lie. This is for entertainment purposes only. This is not the truth. But I said I'm an agent with the court. And I need to speak to Patty. I gave him full name. And the first question out of their mouth was, is this about an adoption? And I said, well, I'm not at liberty to tell you that. If I contact Patty and she gives permission, I'll call you back and give you the details. No problem. Okay, well, we don't have contact with her, but we have 2 kids that do. And I was like, okay. Next thing I know, I've got the phone numbers of those 2 kids. So I call, and the very first one I talked to was a child who found her as well. Her name was Gina, and she had been placed for adoption. And when I called and said, I'm so-and-so, I'm an agent with the district court, we're trying to reach Patty. She was like, is this about an adoption? And I said, well, I'm not at liberty to say, because if she agrees, once I speak to her, I will call you back and give you the details. So the next thing you know, I've got her name, her address. Well, I had her name, but I've got her address and telephone number in Sparks, Nevada. And this was from Texas. And this was in an afternoon. So I took that information, and the next day I picked up the phone and called and spoke to my half-brother, who she had moved on with her life and married a man, and wonderful guy, because the kids are all of my half-siblings that I've met that's been really the blessing of it all to me. Nothing, I don't mean to take that away from my biological mother. That's a blessing, but also the half-siblings. It's wonderful to see similarities in yourself with others. You're not used to that when you grow up as an adopted kid. You're not used to seeing the similarities. And when you sit down to dinner for the first time with your half-sister, you can't eat. You just look and you think, wow, she's an accountant like me. Wow, she drives the same black Ford Mustang as I do. Wow, she moves like me. She does her hands like me. She eats like me. She has a mouth like me. Whatever. It was very strange. So I called up and spoke to my birth mother the next day, my biological mother. Spoke to my half-brother initially. He was young at the time. I want to say still in high school or just out of high school. And I asked, and I just basically didn't say anything. You could tell he was young. So I said, hey, is Patty there? No, she'll be here this evening. And I said, okay, I'll just call back. I'm a friend. And he said, okay. And I said, about what time? And he said, usually by 6. And I'm like, okay, something like that. So I called back. I actually spoke to my biological mother, who could have slammed the phone down, but at least I knew who she was at that point. And, it was at that point that you basically have to, that's the goal, is to get to that point. If she slammed the phone down and ended it all, that's the best you can hope for. And I knew that outcome. I had people warn me, close friends of mine, that said, be ready. Just be ready. And luckily, she was completely open to it. Absolutely wonderful. And it was so wonderful to meet with her the first time. But I found her like that. And you've seen episode 1, 2, and now this is 3. But now we've got a connection. She's in Sparks, Nevada, and I'm in Texas. So, what happens next? Episode 4 coming up. Thank you for watching.